Hey, what is up guys? So today I want to have a short little discussion video on something that I really want to bring out into the community and get everyone's opinions on. So I feel like Yu-Gi-Oh! As the game continuously progresses, we get more and more powerful cards each format, each next set that we get. There's just out of control cards in certain times. And I feel like what we should do to address this is have a different mode in Yu-Gi-Oh! Maybe a competitive mode, or even something that could start out as a Pegasus League mode, where basically it's just a different set of rules and we will apply these rules and then have it, maybe apply it in the future in the game. But the one problem that I'm talking about is we get introduced to more and more powerful cards, yet sometimes I feel like the research and development team doesn't do enough research to actually get the full extent of these cards, and because the ban list only happens a set amount of times per year, players don't like to deal with certain cards for multiple formats. For example, people just have been complaining about Soul Charge forever. Now, sometimes it's even the player that doesn't really like a certain specific card, even though it's not broken, it has the potential just to have an unfair advantage in a game. One excellent example would be something like Royal Tribute. Gravekeepers are not necessarily a meta deck, and no one at the moment really complains about Gravekeepers just way too good, man, we gotta hit that Gravekeeper spot. But the thing is, a card like Royal Tribute, it's just so inherently poorly designed because even though they have to have the Necro Valley on board to actually activate it, and they're going to lose all their monsters too, but they always set Spy first turn, and then they can set all the other back row. If you open up with 5 monsters and you get Royal Tributed, and you're top decking off of a Necro Valley and a set Spy and multiple back row, it's not a very favorable game, and it's not like that you really got outplayed. Your opponent just kind of played a card and they just instantly won, and I really hate running into those things, and that would be just one card that I would just hate to run into. So what I would suggest Yu-Gi-Oh! To do as a game is have a different mode, whether they start off with like Pegasus League or something like that, where we actually get to ban a few cards before the game even starts, before we even know what our opponent is doing. So you can take this example kind of like how League of Legends does it, because new champions get introduced in the game, they make some minor changes, they introduce different items, they change different items, and some champions just scale way out of control when they reach a certain item, so what they do is they just ban those champions. And I think this is really good because it allows the players to actually determine, this thing is way too good, we actually need to, select this for, not being able to be played for this round of the game. And I think that could be very good for the game because that'll make it so the player is able to not only get rid of what card that they don't like dealing with, but it also kind of makes it so the game can actually improve upon its creativity, because that really will ruin archetypes. For one example, let's say that before the duel starts, you get to actually ban 3 cards in the game. Let's just say, for example, you don't like playing against Shaddoll's. You go ahead and go, I'm going to call Shaddall Fusion, and I don't like playing against the Tellarknights, I'm going to call Altair, and then I'm going to be calling Burning Abyss Scarab. So at that moment, you've already countered a lot of the meta decks. Now, what I think would be cool is that you would actually have to remove those cards from your deck. Then you'd actually have to play cards in your side deck, in your main deck. And I think that would just open up the door to much broader, decks as far as the game goes, and it would really shut down some of those archetypes that people complain about, or just cards in general. Like I mentioned before, I really hate Royal Tribute. I never want to get Royal Tributed first turn, so maybe I would just go ahead and say Royal Tribute. But more likely in a tournament, as of right now, Gravekeepers at least are not just doing too well, so maybe you don't want to call that. But that's just one example that I thought would be really good as far as the game to go, because, or to add into the game, because of the amount of players who just complain about certain things. And the problem is, even though we've complained about cards like Soul Charge and cards that just generate way too much insane advantage, like for example, Spellbook of Judgment. That was a card that was just, it was inherently poorly designed, and that card should not have been legal for for even one day. Like, that card was just inherently just poorly designed, and that should have never been introduced in the game. So if you get matched up against an archetype, you can just call these, and I don't think this will ever happen as far as in the main circuit of Yu-Gi-Oh! This would be, like I said, in like a Pegasus challenge, or even more of a different competitive mode. I think that would be really cool in Yu-Gi-Oh! That way we can have just a more broad meta. That way we don't always see the same decks. Like, as of right now, I've been checking out what's been winning, and it's literally Burning Abyss, Shaddoll's, or the Tellarknights, and like nothing else is really there. There's like maybe some random Mermail deck that pops up once in a while, but for the most part, it's like these same things over and over, and players just get tired of it. And even though we get introduced to newer cards all the time, even for even for a week, if I play a deck for like a week, I get sick of the deck. That's just how I am. Unless it's plants. Plants I can play forever, all day, and it's just because there's so much variety in it. And I really feel like it would improve upon the creativity of players, and it also will make players much more happy, so they don't have to deal with certain things that they really don't like dealing with in the game, because it'll kind of improve upon some of the frustration in the game. But I'd love to know what you have to say about this. If you think this is a good idea and a bad idea, hey, definitely let me know, because I think that'd be cool to have a draft mode in Yu-Gi-Oh! Where before the game starts you get to ban a set amount of cards, and then that way you take turns banning, and then that way you can, and both players would have to have the card banned too. You couldn't be like, I banned Shaddoll Fusion, and then like you're playing Shaddolls and you get to keep yours. No, it would just ban it for everyone, just like in League of Legends. So if something is banned, both players cannot select that champion. I think that would just be a cool idea. But anyways, like I said, let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. But thanks for watching, guys. Azneyes out.